Hey everyone, welcome back. Adam here with Indie Farm Life. So about 2 months ago, I made this custom DIY fireplace heat exchanger, and I want to give you guys an update. Since posting that video, I've had tons of comments and questions, so I want to address those, revisit kind of why I built this thing, and give you guys an update on a tweak I made to this thing to make it even better. So in that first video, I mentioned that this is in an enclosed porch. It's not actually in my house. So I want to show you guys the room and explain a little bit more about my setup. So here's a look at the room. Formerly an open air porch that's been closed in with windows. So before these windows were all put in here, this was just an open air porch with a roof and a giant fireplace. 42 inches. This thing will eat some wood. And I think it's important to highlight that fact, right? This was already here. A lot of the comments I received were, a fireplace insert's way better, get one of those. Or get a wood stove, you're stupid, why are you doing this? Yeah, I get that those are more efficient. This is me trying to take a 3-season room and turn it into a 4-season room. For minimal effort and money, by the way. And so I'm not trying to keep this space 60 degrees, 70 degrees all the time. It's just when we're out here. The ceiling is not insulated. Got a little insulation in the knee wall there. But this is not a fully air-sealed room, and it's not part of the conditioned space or envelope of the home. That is over there. All right, so with that out of the way, let's take a look at how this thing's holding up, revisit how it's built, and I'll answer a few other questions I received. All right, so how exactly was this thing built again? Well, as you can see here, it's all black gas pipe, and it's kind of hard to see in the back there because of the soot. But basically, it is a fan sitting over there, I'll show you in a moment, through that ductwork, into this coupler, and the black pipe snakes through the fireplace, up and down, out to this point here. There's no liquid exchange in this, it's all just air. I didn't want to mess with that. That sounds scary and dangerous to me, and boil burns sound terrible. So there's just air flowing through here, no liquids. And this is made purely out of black gas pipe you'd find at Home Depot, Menards, and Lowe's. This is 1.5 inch diameter pipe. As you can see, and it's upside down. You can see that right there, 1.5 inch diameter. Some people said, why not use like 4-inch diameter pipe? Well, 1.5 inch diameter pipe is still pretty big, and you can't get that many turns out of it. If you start using 4-inch diameter pipe, it's going to push this grate out to the point where you can't even use it. You won't be able to make the turns as easily, and availability is a big deal. So one thing I learned through this whole process over the last 60 days or so is that this is certainly enough pipe. I have enough heat exchange, and this thing will produce an immense amount of heat. It's all about airflow. If you saw my first video, at one point I hooked up this leaf blower through it, and did that thing really throw out some serious heat. The problem is it's battery powered, it'll go dead, and it's really loud. So my initial setup on my fan front was one of these little inline fans, has a rheostat on it so you can dial it up and down. Just a little 4-inch inline duct fan. It works okay, but with all these turns in the pipe, there's a lot of static pressure, and I had folks tell me, change my design to have an easier flow, and that's an option. But with that being said, this thing would move some air out of there. Definitely wasn't stagnant, but it was also pushing air backwards. So the airflow on this is to go out this way, which would push air out, but it couldn't overcome the static pressure, and I was getting airflow out the back. It just wasn't powerful enough. So I ultimately swapped it for a 4-inch centrifugal fan, or a squirrel cage fan if you want to call it that. And this was a Vortex brand. These things have a 10-year warranty on them. Pretty incredible. I think it was like 170 bucks. And I did put it on a rheostat so I can manage the speed. We'll test it in a moment, but I just wanted to show you that setup. I wanted to mention that because people were trying to help me troubleshoot, saying, hey, take your fan and put it outside, or put it, under the deck, because it looks like you have a deck here. Well, this is living space below here, so I can't do that. I have no attic space to put the fan in. And some folks said to put it outside and pull fresh air in, which is an option, but they were making the comments that I was, combusting that air. That air is not getting combusted at all. It's just going through pipe, coming out the other side. It's not going in the firebox and up. However, one thing folks did suggest was having a fresh air intake for this fireplace. This thing does pull a ton of room air up the 14-inch flue, and one thing I failed to mention in my first video is that it does have its own intakes. If we step out here, you can see here on the side of the house, this thing has 2 pretty sizable intakes. So there's 6, if not 8 inches. And so if you have a fire going in here with these windows closed, you come out here, you can really feel these 2 things drawing. But then again, I don't know if it's quite enough for the room or not. So I mentioned this thing has a 14-inch flue on it. And currently, since this was an outdoor porch at one point in time, or open air porch at the time, this thing does not have a damper on it. So I can't close an in-flue damper anywhere. and I don't have a chimney damper on top. I plan to add one at some point. But when this fire goes out and there's not a heat source actively going, we're getting a lot of cold air drop back in, and we're still losing heat up there. So again, this is not a space to be heated 24/7. But if I was out here with the fire the whole time, I certainly could. We've been out here when it's been 5 degrees and it's been 70, no problem. And I think the last thing I want to address about this fireplace before I light a fire for you guys and kind of demo this, glass doors. You know, folks had said, well, get glass doors then, Adam. Great idea, I'd love to. I looked into it before I did this whole setup. The problem is there's two types for a fireplace like this, tempered or ceramic. Tempered glass is really for when the fire is completely out or mostly gone. Tempered glass is only good about 400 degrees, so you can't really burn it with the doors closed. So you can close them when you're done burning to stop, you know, heat going up and cold air coming back in, but not while you're out here. So it kind of defeats the purpose, given that we're not here 24/7. If you do ceramic glass, you can burn while you have it going, but man, are those expensive. Not worth the money. Chimney cap's probably the way to go. As far as it holding up, you can see some discoloration on this elbow right here. I mean, I clocked this thing at well over 400 degrees when we're cooking on it, and these ones back here at 900 plus, but obviously it's cold now, so it won't deform. But you can see they're still very, very straight. They're not deforming anywhere. Still got its structural integrity, just some soot on it. It's holding up really well thus far. I've probably burned 3 IBC totes of wood through this thing in the last 60 days. It's been brutally cold in the Midwest, and while I don't need to be out here when it's 4 degrees, I've been out here when it's 4 degrees, watching it snow across the cornfield and just having a raging fire. The last thing pertaining to this fan was folks talking about putting a fan at the end of it to pull heat through versus push it through. The problem is this thing will get to be about 400 degrees, so unless you have a really high temp fan, you're not going to be able to pull the air without messing your fan up. And then this side stays cool. Folks had commented and said I was ridiculous for using, PVC and a rubber Fernco there. Well, I got news for you. When that's 400 degrees, this right here and back is room temperature or colder. It's not warming up at all. So we're not off-gassing, we're not melting that at all. And if you can find me a way with metal and cheaper to hook that up, then using a piece of PVC I had laying around and a Fernco coupler, then send it my way. One last thing I wanted to comment on was my log lighter. Some folks had questions about that and what it was. And I made a comment in my first video about this saying, Boy Scouts don't get mad. And some guy who said he was an Eagle Scout commented and said, I don't care, I'm an Eagle Scout, that's awesome. Get you a look first. So that right there, coming out of the side of the fireplace, is a gas igniter. I don't know if you can see the holes in that pipe or not. That is hooked up to a valve right down here. I have a key for it. And I can turn gas on, hooked to our propane, and that will help me light the fire without having to, get tons of kindling and paper, etc. And lights it with dry wood in a matter of minutes. It's fantastic. So let me just demo that for you. You're gonna need the key. It's always good to get your flame going before you have the gas on, So that right there is the gas valve, like 1/8 of the way open. Not open hardly at all, but that's plenty. And obviously I can crank it higher. Right there, you throw some kindling on that, and you got yourselves a fire in a matter of minutes. It's pretty fantastic. So I think that covers most of the questions I had. Again, if you have additional questions, drop them below. Right now I'm gonna start a fire, and we'll see what kind of temps we can start getting rolling out of this thing. I'll show you this new squirrel cage fan or centrifugal fan in action. It's made this thing easily 3 times better than it was with that other fan. I don't know if I would say this is funny or sad, but in doing this and having this video out, there's a lot of people commenting saying, you should have done this, you should have done that, kind of critiquing what I did, giving me advice. I don't mind that. Everyone has their opinion, and I appreciate other people trying to help me and improve a setup or give their opinions on what works and doesn't. What I'm flabbergasted by are the folks who are like, why would you do that? You're wasting your time. That's so stupid. Keyboard warriors who have nothing better to do. My response is always a laugh. And have you never sat by a fire, like on a cold night? It's one of the most relaxing things ever. Have some family and friends around, sitting by a fire, watching some TV with your kids. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just me. And for the record, I'm not some city boy who doesn't know how to make a fire, but smarter, not harder, right? And I've got some kindling now, but it is kind of awesome because you don't even need kindling. You can just, as long as your wood's dry, you can throw big stuff on here and just let it burn for a couple minutes and it'll take off. This has actually acted as like a backstop to keep things off the fire brick or the refractory panels. And so you can kind of build your fire around the pipes using the grates to kind of elevate it and hold it up off the bottom panels, but also on the back there. And so what's really nice is you can just kind of huddle the firewood around there and really get great heat exchange. And when you do, man, these pipes just, I won't say they glow because I don't think they've gotten that hot yet before, but they sure do put out an immense amount of heat. Some of the stuff's damp. I just brought it in from outside. Usually takes probably about half an hour before the pipes are really good and hot, before you can really kind of start getting heat kind of flowing out of here. So I don't turn the fan on for at least a half hour or so. One guy asked me how I had this thing built or fastened in here. It's not, it's just sitting. It's kind of cantilevered forward. There's some fire brick down here, and on the other side it's resting on. But it's just gravity. There's nothing holding it in here. It's about a ½ inch or so off the back wall and like a ¼ inch off the side wall in case you get expansion. I didn't want to pop my refractory panels. If you saw the soot in the back there and we're worried about creosote, I do burn these creosote burner logs on occasion. Seem to work pretty well. If you know me, you know I'm a belt and suspenders kind of guy, so I burn way more than I should. Just buy them on Amazon. I'll link them down below. I think I've already burned 1 or 2 this season. I'll probably burn 1 more. I got a couple laying over there. At this point, we can probably kill the gas. And it doesn't use that much gas. It's not like it's, you know, bleeding my tank dry or anything. Let's go ahead and kill that gas, see where we're at. What is nice is if you're sitting here burning and it starts to peter out, you can easily just reignite it like so and really force some heat through it until you get the fire going. I think we're good for now. I'm gonna let this thing build and then I'll jump back on here when we have a bigger fire, and we'll check some temps with the thermometer here in a little bit once this thing's going. All right, we're starting to build some heat, but before we get too crazy and turn the fan on, I'm gonna show you guys kind of the temperatures floating around here in the room. It's like the stone over here, for example, 45 degrees, this pipe, 53, 52, 62. I think I got some radiant heat on that one right there, yeah. If I go back, drops off significantly, 45. You see the laser, it's kind of that far. There's the far corner. 180 there. That was probably getting some flames though. 500, far corner. 234, 160. So it's starting to build heat. When this thing's kind of all the way up going, most of the back pipes will be between 700 and 800 degrees, and you'll get some, you know, 400 and 500s along the side with about 400 at that pipe head there when it's really cooking. When you're kind of in the room just talking, it's not that loud, and it's kicking out a significant amount of air. Actually, the heat's starting to build decently on there too. So to give you guys an idea of the airflow, I just have a Kleenex here. You can see that it's, I mean, it's not like it's a leaf blower, but I'm 18 inches out and it'll make it stand on end. But after, I would say after an hour or so though, you get to the point with that thing running full speed like that, you put your hand about 12 to 18 inches out from here and you can't keep it there for more than 4 or 5 seconds before you feel like your skin's gonna burn off. So yeah, that gets extremely hot. So if you have children, you know, keep them away. All right, it's been 30 or 40 minutes. We're not maxed out on the temp here, but we're definitely hot enough for testing purposes and to show you guys how well this thing works. I'll be really curious to hear how that fan renders on camera. It's not that loud in here, so we'll see. We'll just do some temp checks on here. So verifying that this spot back here is not that hot. 55, what's it say? 60 degrees-ish. Really no movement there. Come up this elbow, 66, 75, 120. So yeah, this right here, yeah, that's ice cold. I mean, I could keep my hand there all day. So this Fernco getting hot, or the PVC getting hot and melting, not gonna happen. 56 degrees, yeah, just cold room air. I thought about building maybe a cage for this thing too to help isolate the sound. Could put it outside, but you know, it's a nice fan. I'd rather not weather it, so maybe build something, but then again, it's not that loud. We can watch TV out here, no problem. So we'll kind of trace this through. Over here on the side, 365 in the corner, 280, probably getting some flameage there, 650, there's no flame on that one there, 424 down here in the corner, 500, this little elbow, and obviously this is not air temps right now, this is just the temp of the metal, but I just saw 290 something, and sure it feels like my knuckles are on fire. 298, 300. It's building, you can see it climbing. Knuckles are about ready to melt. 313, what the max there was. I've seen that over 400 degrees. I want to say 420 something. There's a screenshot in that other video. I'll link it below if you want to check that video out. But this thing's putting out an immense amount of heat. I'm starting to get kind of sweaty sitting out here. I think it's about 35 degrees today, so not one of the colder ones. All right, so that's a little update on the heat exchanger I built here. Like I said, it's worked fantastic. I have noticed that I've burned a little less wood having this in here than previously. These metal spark arresters, or whatever you want to call them, if you have them closed, they do stop a good amount of radiant heat from the fire, but I don't like to light a fire and not be out here when it's burning if these aren't closed. So, you know, I started closing these when I was leaving, stopping all that radiant heat. This allows me to leave the fan running and bring that heat back into the room, which is nice. Again, all the piping came from Menards. More detail in my original video about building it if you want to build one yourself, so go check that out. I think there's maybe 350 bucks in everything initially. That included that little can fan, if you will. It was like 40 bucks. This fan costs like $170, but it's got a 10-year warranty on it. I'll link that below. The factory built units that weren't going to fit my setup were going to be north of $700. So this is a pretty good option, and dang, it's hot right here. What's nice is as this thing burns down, we'll still be able to grab a lot of BTUs here, even when the radiant heat really kind of stops coming out of the front. We'll get it right here. Ooh. Yeah, you can't keep your hand there that long. Serious. So at this point, I think I've answered everyone's questions, or most of the ones I can think of. If there's another question you have, drop it below. Happy to answer it and keep this dialogue going. But the pivotal question I always have when I finish a project is, are you glad you did it? Would you do it again? And a heartbeat. It's made a big difference to the usability of this space. This fireplace is plenty on its own when it's 30 or 40 out, but now I got a 4-season room. That's all for me. I got to go somewhere where I'm not going to sweat. So hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care. Dang, son. Whew.